everyone. Welcome to this demo on how to use blending modes in combination with selections and refine edge. So I'm going to take you right here to Adobe Bridge so you can see the images that I'm going to be working with. I have this cheetah image right here. I also have this image, and this is what we're going to attain to do on this demo. I have this image of smoke also, so I'm going to put all these three images to create this that I have right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. I'm going to open these three images in Photoshop. So now that I have the three images, I'm going to first start with the cheetah. So I want to make a selection of this cheetah right here. I'm going to do it with the quick select tool, which is W, the symbol right here. If you look into the toolbar, it's the fourth tool in the toolbar, and you might have on your computer the magic wand by default. So remember, if you see that, you have to hold it down and then pick the quick selection tool. So now that I have that tool, I'm going to go to my layers here, and I'm going to duplicate the background layer by pressing Command J. Okay, so now I have two layers. And I'm going to explain in a little bit why I did that. So the first thing I'm going to do is select the cheetah. So I'm going to go ahead and with the quick select tool and move around. If it's too slow, you can make it bigger with the right bracket key. So I'm going to go like that and select the cheetah. Now there are going to be some sections that are not going to be perfect, and that's okay. I'm going to do that on purpose, so I'm going to show you how to do it. So right now you can see that there are a couple areas that I need to fix. This bottom part got selected, and I actually don't want that. So I'm going to press Option and drag this across here, maybe a little bit there. I'm going to make sure I add this part because I need that. This part on the top I don't want, so I'm going to do Option and paint that. Okay, good. And then this section right here, I'm holding Option down as I drag my brush, so that way I can subtract that area. So that looks pretty good. Doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to go into the refine mask and fix all that. So right now I have layer 1 selected, and I'm going to go ahead with the selection that I did, create a mask. And what that's going to do is it's going to create this mask, okay, of the cheetah right here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is go in here and refine all these edge that you see here that doesn't look natural because you don't see like the hair, and it's kind of sloppy and jagged. So we're going to go ahead and fix that. To do that, there are two ways of doing it. If you have the properties panel, you can go here where it says refine the mask, which is select and mask, this option right here. Or if you just double click on the mask, it will open up this same panel. Now, right now, your layers are going to go away. Don't get scared. It's normal. You're just in this refine mask or edge setup. And to start, what you want to do is you're going to go here where it says View, right here in this area. And there's a little arrow that you can click to open this menu. You're going to go to on black. Okay, not black and white, on black. So you click there. So you can select that, and then you have to make sure that the opacity is to 100 because usually I think it's somewhere in the middle. Mine just like remember that I dragged it to the top to 100%, and that's why it looked black. And I like that because it gives you a better preview on how the edge is looking. Okay, so you go ahead and do that. Click on Smart Radius. Okay. And the next step is picking your brush, which is all the way up here on the left side. It's the second one. It looks like, you know, hair. That's the tool that you want, the Refine Edge Brush tool. Okay, so the second one, not the first one. So now that you have your tool, I'm going to zoom in so you can see how this is going to look. You want basically to have a brush size that's decent but not too big, so something like that. And you're going to go ahead and start painting. I would not paint everything in one go, okay, because if there's some mistake, you want to be able to just go back one step. So I do like by little chunks, and you can see how this is actually selecting the edge and like picking the hair of the cheetah. So it works pretty good. There might be some scenarios that doesn't work well, okay, and you just basically can do Option and delete it. So I'm going to do it by accident, like somewhere here, kind of crazy. So you see that area and that little line. I'm going to do Option, so it changes to minus, and then paint it off. Okay. Let me take that highlighter off, and then we go around here. This area, I don't like that, but I guess that's part of it, so I should just leave it. I can clean it later. But look at that, how nice that detail of the hair looks. Makes the image look a lot better. Oh, that I don't like. I can leave that the nose like that. Okay. Perfect, perfect. Okay, so that's looking good. Now I'm going to go to the top part here that I missed some areas. All right, there we go. So now that I have that, you can play around with the radius if you want. I like leaving it where it was. You can also like play with the smoothing and the feather. That's really up to you. You can just leave it how it is. It usually does a good job on the first run, so you don't have to adjust any of those setups. And for this, looks pretty good because right now you can notice most of that like halo around it because we are against a black background, and that's why I like doing it in a black background because it gives you a better preview of it, and you can kind of judge better how it looks. So if it looks okay here, it will look great when you have it against another background. So I'm going to press OK, and that's my Sheeta image. And this is just an exercise so you can practice the refine. It doesn't really matter that much when you bring it to the other picture, and you're going to see why in a little bit. So now that I finished that selection, I'm going to grab my Move tool, which is the first one on the toolbar. I'm just going to drag it away over to the other image and put it right here. I'm going to do Command T to scale it down a little bit so I can see it in here. And the one thing I'm going to do now is the boy here is looking towards the left and the sheet is looking towards the right. So I need to flip it. If you right click inside your transformation, once you do Command T, when you see this little brackets on the edges, if you right click inside, it will give you the option of flipping horizontal at the bottom if you right click inside of it. So I'm going to do that and flip it horizontally. I'm going to put it somewhere in the face. Doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to show you what we're going to do. We're going to lower the opacity once I approve that transformation. And I want to basically get somewhere in the middle so that way I can see that the Sheeta eye ends up in his eye. So that looks kind of cool. I might transform it a little bit smaller. Let's say something like that. Because I want to make sure I get some of that black line. That looks kind of cool. So that's the Sheeta eye right there. And then I'm going to approve that. Now that I have that, I can bring the opacity back to 100. And what I'm going to do is with this thumbnail selected, I'm going to go and press through the blending modes right here to see if there's one that looks good. You can either hover over them so it gives you a preview, or you can hit Shift and plus and you can go through them to see if one of them looks good. Oh, it looks pretty good. Overlay, or this one looks pretty good. Soft light. So I'm gonna move the eye so it fits exactly. You can move with your arrow key so it'll be better. I might have to transform this a little bit smaller to make the eye fit better. There we go. Now we're getting there. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Now the other thing that we need to do is you have this mask, right, that has this edge. Okay, that's really sharp. And I got to this view by pressing Option and clicking on the mask so you can see it. And what I want to do is basically erase all the stuff that I don't want on the shirt. I just want this on his face, not even on the hair maybe. So I'm going to select my brush tool. I'm going to go over here, select the brush tool, and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to paint around this area right here so I can get rid of this on the shirt. So I'm going to make it smaller as I get closer because I want to make sure I have more precision. I would zoom in so that way you can tell if you're doing a good job. Most of the time when I'm doing my demos, I don't zoom in enough because I just want to go quick, so you guys don't have to see me here for an hour doing something. So I would zoom in when you get to the details of stuff, more than what I'm zooming in right now. Okay, this doesn't have to be perfect. Actually, I can make it bigger so that way it's softer. The transition, and I might undo it here a little bit. There we go. And around there. Okay. That's looking pretty good. Okay. That looks good. I'm going to zoom out. So now I have the eye does not like, it's not perfect. I'm not super happy with that. But I'm going to go ahead and move it. Let's see if it's possible, but then the whole mask move. But I can do a little trick. I can actually unlink that and see if I can move that within that mask. I might have to just scale it down a little bit. That's looking better. Okay, so there we go. We got the sheet on his face. That's one step. Now we miss the last one, which is bringing the smoke. So I'm going to click here, drag it up, bring it down. Here we go. And what I want to do is the same thing. I'm just going to go Shift plus and go through the blending modes until I find one that works. Okay, now you're going to see that this is going to come up on difference right now, which is kind of cool. I'm going to do Command T, flip this a little bit so it looks like it's coming out of the screen or the keyboard. You know, it can be from his finger, kind of, where he's pressing here. Make it a little bit smaller. His computer's catching on fire. He's the sheet of internet, going really fast. Okay. I don't know if I like that on too close to his face. The composition is not good enough. So I probably will try something different. And the other one, I think I had it from the screen. So it's really up to you how you like arrange this in the way that you feel like it fits the best. You can have it actually, if you really want to do it, coming out like from this part right here, but you just can't have it on top of his finger because it'll start doing like weird, because it's on the blending mode that's called difference. There are other ways of doing it. If you flip the image and invert it to white, let's go and do that just for the fun of it. If I press Command I, it will invert it. And then you can go through the blending modes to see if there's one that works better. And this one seems to be working better, multiply. You see, it doesn't create any weird effect there. So now I can put it like coming out from here, kind of like from the vents, almost like it says coming up. So that's it. That's a little practice to do two things. One of them is how to use the refine edge brush under the mask for the Sheeta, even though here that we didn't use it, but I think it's a good exercise to practice. And then once you brought it here is to do some blending modes in a creative way by combining images. So if you have any questions, just let me know. I hope that you enjoyed this lab, and you probably will use it later on in different ways. I think blending modes are really powerful, and the more you use them, the more you get to understand how they work. Overall, they are organized here under the blending modes by different themes. If you want to think about it, like all of these are blending modes that darken the image when they blend it. These are blending modes that lighten up the image. These one are create contrast. Okay, and then you have here like effects and color and luminosity at the bottom. So they are grouped by these little lines that you see here. So you can kind of get an idea of what they do. But sometimes depending on the picture, that's why I inverted this image, because I knew that it was going to work better if it was inverted. Depends on the image and what is the background. If it's white or black, it will create different contrast because of canceling each other when you do the blending mode. So the more you use them, the more you get a sense of what works usually. But at the beginning, I know it's overwhelming. So I think for now, just like play with them and go through them so you can get an idea of what they do. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.